Be the kind of person that people like to be around. We know that high self-esteem in salespeople leads to a positive mental attitude. High self-esteem is based on how much you like yourself, how much you respect yourself. We also know that salespeople who are continually working on themselves, reading books, listening to tapes, going to courses, watching programs like this, getting better in their field, have high self-esteem. They have greater self-confidence. They feel better about themselves, and as a result, they like themselves. And we know there's a one-to-one relationship. You can't like anybody else more than you like yourself. So if you really want to establish high-quality relationships with customers, you've got to have a high-quality relationship with yourself. If ever you have a bad day or a bad week and you feel down, you're going to find it very, very difficult to sell.
Also, what we have found is that your level of self-confidence is the critical factor in your level of sex appeal. Is that the more confident you are, the more appealing you are to other people. The more confident you are, actually the more magnetism you have. That's why actors and actresses who seem to be extremely confident have a certain amount of magnetism. So confidence not only is really important for us, it makes us feel happy, it affects and empowers other people, it causes people to treat us differently, we make more sales, we make more money, we marry better, we're better and more effective socially. Self-confidence is everything. And so I began studying when my confidence was very, very low, and I began looking at the subject of self-confidence. And I find that there's three factors that interfere with our self-confidence. Number one factor is doubt and fear. Doubt and fear. This is really the greatest problem that human beings have. Throughout all of history, throughout all the books of religion and spiritual works and philosophy and psychology, fear and doubt and fear hold us back more than anything else. And then second of all, it's feelings of guilt and unworthiness. Feelings of guilt and unworthiness. And these are universal. And then finally, number three, is we have feelings of inferiority and undeservingness. It's absolutely amazing. They've done lots of work with AIDS patients, and they find that some people who have AIDS live for years and years and years, and some die. And they found that the critical thing is the feeling of worthlessness. Is people come down with the disease and they feel that there's something wrong with them and they lose their heart. Viktor Frankl, when he was in the Nazi death camps at Auschwitz, said as long as people believed in something, they stayed alive. As soon as they stopped believing, they just died. And so we all have these feelings. In fact, a feeling of undeservingness is one of the dirty little secrets that we have with regard to success. As you've heard the old expression, fear of success. It's no such thing as fear of success. It's just a pop suggestion. It's feelings of undeservingness. We don't feel that we're worth it. And so people who unconsciously don't feel that they're worth very much, they will work very hard on the outside to achieve success, and then they'll sabotage themselves. Your self-image is the way you see about yourself and the way you think about yourself. Your self-image is called your inner mirror. Whenever you go to do anything, you check this mirror like a stage performer checking the mirror before they go on the stage. Before you go in to see somebody in a sales call, you just kind of check your inner mirror to see, how do I perform in sales calls? And your performance on the outside is largely determined by your self-image. 1-to-1. Remember that ratio. The way you are perceived by someone, which will largely determine the influence you have over him or her, will be strongly affected by your level of credibility, your ethos. In the area of personal credibility, the rule is that everything counts. Everything you do or don't do either adds to or takes away from your credibility and your capability to influence someone else. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, in essence, that what you are shouts at me so loudly, I cannot hear a word you are saying. Ethos is very important in communicating with others. Perhaps the simplest example of the application of this rule, that everything counts, involves your image or appearance. You've heard it said that you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. The fact is that when you first meet a person, he makes a judgment about you in approximately 4 seconds, and his judgment is finalized largely within 30 seconds of the initial contact. In a survey of the members of the American Personnel Association, those men and women who are responsible for hiring people for large companies, members generally agreed happy, negative people think and talk about all the things that they've done wrong, the mistakes they've made, and the people that have hurt them in the past. Happy, confident people instead think about all the positive things they've done and achieved over their lifetimes, and they look forward to accomplishing even more in the future. Make a list of all your good qualities, of which there are many. For example, write down the fact that you are honest, you're intelligent, you're creative, you're hardworking, you're friendly, you're helpful, you're generous, you're sincere, you're persistent. Everyone has these qualities to some degree, and you have all of these qualities as well, more or less. Then, make a list of everything that you've accomplished over your lifetime, going back to childhood. When you start thinking about it, you will realize that you have accomplished hundreds of large and small goals over the years, starting from when you completed your first year of school or played your first sport. Since then, you've learned, worked, traveled, had relationships, achieved goals, won certain successes, and on and on. Accentuate the positive and ignore the negative. Think of your unique talents and abilities. Think of your core skills, the things that you do exceptionally well that account for most of your success in your profession and in your personal life right now. Think of what an exceptional person you really are, all things considered. When you do this exercise and create a personal inventory of all your best points, you accept yourself even more and you grow in self-confidence and self-esteem. Soon enough, you feel terrific about yourself and becoming even more dedicated to the realization of your full potential. Now, here's an exercise that you can do. Make a list of all of your best qualities, the virtues, values, talents, and abilities that make you an extraordinary person, unique in all the world. From now on, think about the most positive aspects of yourself and your personality, and let the rest go. Now, your self-esteem is the most important part of all. This is the emotional part of your personality. This is what I call the nuclear reactor core. This is the energy source. This is the power in the human personality. Your level of self-esteem determines your level of vitality, energy, personality, sense of humor, creativity, personal strength, influence, persuasiveness, and so on. So your self-esteem is critical, and your self-esteem is defined as how much you like yourself. How much you like yourself is the measure of your self-esteem. How much you like yourself. Here's an interesting point, is whenever your self-esteem, your self-image, your personal performance is consistent with your self-ideal, the person that you would most like to be, your self-esteem goes up. Whenever you do anything that is consistent with the best person you could be, you feel happy, you feel proud, you have greater self-respect, you have more energy. Whenever you do something that's not like you, you blow up, you get mad, you swear, you do something that that's not consistent with the best person you could be, your self-esteem takes a hit. But when you start to act in a way consistent with the best that you know, your self-esteem goes up. Well, here's the most important part, going down here, is we say that the most powerful words you'll ever learn are the words, I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. Whenever you say the words, I like myself, your overall self-concept goes up. Your self-image improves and your self-ideal clarifies. And as your self-image, as your self-concept goes up, your performance and your behavior at every part of your life goes up as well. They say the flip side of self-esteem, like a coin, is called self-efficacy in psychology. And self-efficacy is how competent you are. So whenever you do something well, your self-esteem goes up and you like yourself more. And the more you like yourself, the better you do. And the better you do, the more you like yourself. And the more you like yourself, the better you do. And you get onto an upward spiral. So what we found is the most powerful words that you can use prior to any event of importance are the words, I like myself. We also know this, is that your self-concept is made up of three parts. Again, this is basic behavioral psychology. Number one, it's made up of your self-ideal. Now your self-ideal, like three wedges of a pie, consists of your values, it consists of your ideals, it consists of your goals, it consists of your hopes, it consists of your dreams, it consists of all those things that are inside you. And what we know is that there's a direct relationship between how clear you are about your goals and ideals and your self-ideal. What do we know about top people? Top people are clear about what they believe in, and they don't compromise their values. What do we know about little people, weak people? Is they're very confused about their values and they compromise them for the slightest advantage. So my point is that people with a very clear self-ideal are much stronger and more powerful people than people who are unclear about their ideals. There's a great question in goal setting and personal success I wanted to start off with. And the question is, what one great thing would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? Now that's a great question. If you were absolutely guaranteed a success in any goal, big or small, short or long term, if you could wave a magic wand, take a pill, but you'd be absolutely guaranteed, what one goal would you set for yourself? And when you ask that question, usually big goals come into your mind. You'd be rich, you'd be famous, you'd be powerful. But when you ask the question, what happens is you start to realize that it is fear that holds us back more than anything else. Because if you were absolutely guaranteed a success, you'd be unstoppable. I mean, you would be a force of nature. If someone were to put a blessing on you and say that you are indestructible and you could accomplish any goal you ever set for yourself, what different things would you do? Now, when I started off, I came from a poor family. I say I came by my feelings of guilt and unworthiness, honestly, because I was raised by a Catholic mother. And I grew up with no self-confidence, no self-esteem. I was kicked out of school several times. I misbehaved. I ended up spending half of my school in the library because I was kicked out of courses. I left school in the 12th grade and got a job as a dishwasher, worked as a laborer, lived in my car, dug ditches and things like that. So I had no self-esteem. And I began studying the subject over the years, and I found that your level of self-confidence, how much confidence you have in yourself to be, do, accomplish something, really determines the whole quality of your life.
Fear and courage tend to be habits. That if you are afraid and you give in to the fear and you back away, it becomes a habit to back away whenever you're afraid or unsure. If you're afraid and you force yourself to confront the fear, it becomes a habit to confront the fear whenever you find something that you're afraid of. And you'll find that most fears disappear when you confront them. Then most fears of failure, fears of rejection, fears of loss, fears of pain, fears of limitation, fears of the loss of a relationship, fears of ill health, most of these fears disappear when you confront them head on. It's almost like as you push them, they just turn into smoke and disappear. Dare to go forward in your life. Dare to go forward in the direction of fulfilling your potential. When I was, many years ago, I was a karate student. I was also a karate instructor, and I competed in 3 international championships. And one of the things that I learned from my best karate instructors, and I studied under 6 world champions, is they told me that when you fight, always move forward. Even if you're only moving forward half an inch at a time, he says, always move forward. He said, when you're moving forward, 100% of your attention is forward. But if you're moving backward, even a half an inch at a time, half of your attention is always behind you and where you're going. So always move forward. Always dare to go forward. Whenever you have a choice of either staying still and playing it safe or moving forward, move forward. Not because you'll necessarily succeed every time, because it reinforces and cements the habit of moving forward. And most people, when they have a choice of moving forward or playing it safe, play it safe. But I think General Douglas MacArthur said there's no security in life, only opportunity. Life is very perverse in a way, because the more we seek security, the less we have it. And the more we seek opportunity, the more we have security. Helen Keller said this beautifully. She said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. That the tendency, she said in the earlier parts of this statement, she said the tendency to seek security is the low road to failure. That courage is absolutely essential. And one of the things that I used to think that if you were really courageous, eventually you got to the point where you weren't afraid. I'm going to tell you something, that if you're not a little bit afraid, at least 3 or 4 nights a week, you're not trying hard enough. If you're not falling on your face over and over again, if you're not trembling when you go to sleep with your heart pounding, then what is happening is you're not trying hard enough. You're living too far within your potential. That all really successful people live on the outside edge of what they're capable of. And it's always a little bit scary on the outside edge, because we all have feelings of uncertainty. We all have fears. We all have doubts that hold us back. But the brave person is simply the person who moves forward and keeps taking the chance. And you cannot imagine a successful person without courage. You cannot imagine a successful person without the courage to face and confront their fears and to move forward. In my experience, the fear of failure is the greatest single reason for failure in adult life. The fear of failure, the fear of making a mistake, of losing our money, our time, our effort, is what paralyzes us and holds us back. But the fear of failure is a habit which can be counteracted by the habit of courage. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Act as though it were impossible to fail. Go Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and act as though it were impossible to fail. And this brings us to the most important part, if I can just summarize in 1 minute. It is this, is that your true beliefs are only and always expressed in your actions. It is not what you say or what you intend that tells what you believe, but only what you do. Your actions are always the true measure. And the interesting thing that we've learned in behavioral psychology is this, that if you do not feel self-confident, courageous, consistent, like concentrating, clear, and so on, if you don't feel like it, and most of us start off not feeling like it, if you will act the part, if you will pretend as though you have the quality already, the feelings will generate the actions, and the actions will generate the feelings. That if you will act, walk, talk, and live by the same principles and do the same things that successful men and women do, even if you doubt yourself in the initial stages, eventually you will come to the point where you actually feel to the bottom of your soul like a successful, positive, confident, cheerful, optimistic, unstoppable human being. And that's the key. Act the part until you feel the part. Do what successful people do, and do it over and over again until it becomes ingrained as a habit.